Welcome back to Dano Does Things. This week I'm going to show you how I set up my bullet journal. There's tons of inspiration online, but I personally get very intimidated by the very artsy and beautiful journals I see online. I like to keep mine really simple and efficient, so if you're looking for some basic organization without all that extra stuff, give this one a watch. The journal I'm using this year is the B6 Dot Grid notebook from Archer and Olive. This is my first year using the brand, but so far I really like the size and that the paper is bright white and sturdy. It has an elastic closure and a pen holder, as well as a paper folder in the back and 2 bookmarks. It has 112 pages, which is good for me, but maybe short for others. I'm also trying the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens in the 0.7mm size. I could probably do a whole video on them alone, but I really love the opacity and brightness of them and the fact that they don't bleed. The Artist Loft markers aren't my favorite. They're a bit dull and do bleed through this specific notebook, but I do use them sparingly. I much prefer the boldness of the Stabilo Boss highlighters. You can make thin or thick lines, and I've had no problem with bleed through. Now, if I wasn't going to use any fancy colored pens or markers, I would always go with the Sakura Pigma Micron ink. I use the 02 size for most things and the 08 size for titles. They glide really well, don't bleed, and dry really fast. And I always have a mechanical pencil and variety of erasers on hand because I am the kind of person who has to write most things down in pencil first. Alright, let's get into the journal setup itself. The first page is just a title and by far the fanciest page in my book. Not everyone sorts their journals by year, but I like having one journal per year in case I ever have to go back to look something up. It just makes it easier to find. Before I even get into planning, in the back of the journal I have 2 important pages. The first is where I count out all the dots in my journal so I have a quick reference for when I'm trying to plan out my pages. The second is a place to test my pens to see how they look on this specific paper and if they bleed through and how long they take to dry. Okay, back to the front. Right after the title page I have my yearly overview. One of the main reasons why I transferred to my own handmade calendars was because I like my calendars to run Monday to Sunday instead of Sunday to Saturday. I am very passionate about the fact that the first day of the week is Monday, and I will fight you about it. The year overview allows me to just look at the year as a whole and tick off the days as they go by. On the next pages, I have my monthly overview. This is where I keep track of macro things and things that rotate monthly. I track holidays, birthdays, and vacations, as well as things like paydays, moon phases, and menstrual cycles. At the end of each month, I like to write in my favorite media of the month, the best thing I played, listened to, watched, and read that month. I don't track a lot of things, but I like to track the things that make me happy, and I find these things interesting to go back on. The other months will be laid out just the same, but it's the first week of January, and I haven't quite got there yet. Now comes the goals section. I like to set general intentions for the year to help myself be mindful and purposeful. On the left, I have a review of my goals from last year, and on the right, I have my goals for this year. I like to keep these goals high level because very specific and calculated goals can be intimidating and it's easy to get off track. Instead, I like to write down ideals and general things I would like to embody for the year. To keep on track of my yearly goals, I also jot down some ideas on how to reach those goals, and I try to review them at least monthly. I also have goals for my YouTube channel, but that's very specific to me and my projects. The next page is also YouTube related. It's where I write down the videos I post each week, which keeps me accountable and also is fun to look back on. The next section is the future log. This is where I write down any projects or tasks that are month or season specific, and I can reference it when I'm writing out my weekly tasks. Since the weekly lists aren't done far in advance, this section makes sure things don't fall through the cracks. My next section is where I write down all the things I don't want to forget, which is broken down into a few categories. In the first, I can put down anything that doesn't need to happen right away, but I'll need to get to eventually. Again, just writing it down helps it not fall through the cracks, and it gets it out of your mind so you can focus on other things. The second section is where I can write down all the house maintenance I want to do, as well as track what chores I've done that need to be done on a semi-regular basis, so I'll know when to do it again. The next section is a general brain dump. Here I can write down all my random thoughts. Getting them out of my head and onto paper can help me organize my thoughts and lets me be less distracted by those thoughts that itch at the back of my brain. The last section is again YouTube specific. Any video ideas that I have get jotted down here to be referenced later. Finally, we have the weekly spread. This is Monday to Saturday, and I write down specific things for each day. Here I write down appointments, to-do lists, and tasks, making sure to look back at my future log and my don't forget section to see if there's anything ongoing that needs to get done that day or that week. At the end of the day, I also like to write down a few bullet points on what happened that day or something positive. I also have this little empty spot that I can use for shopping lists, or I can write a quote or a doodle, whatever helps me for that week. And that's it. I hope you found this helpful, and I wish you the best of luck in all your planning. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.